I think the reason that threes can be so successful is that they are assertive, but about your emotional location. They're assertive about getting inside of you.
Most people don't really connect to anybody, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And most people just sort of like have common aims or common fears to keep them together, but not really relating to each other.
The not of fours are after him, and he needs $500 right now, or they're gonna decapitate him in Munich.
Work hard, play hard.
The big hormone Enneagram.
Hi, I'm John Lukovich, sexual self-pres, over the 5-wing, 458 Trifix.
Hi, I'm David Gray, self-pres sexual 9 with a 1, 974 Trifix.
What up, it's Emeka. I'm an 8-wing 7, sexual self-pres with 854 fixes.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I am a self-pres social 3, wing 4, with a 369 Trifix. If you like our podcast, guys, make sure you go like and subscribe on the Apple Podcast app. And if you really like us, you should definitely leave us a review.
Tinder Swindler.
You all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That shit was hilarious.
Yeah, I need to check it out.
I mean, if you want to, you can stick around, because I think it's not like a difficult story to explain. Like the premise is pretty straightforward. I think there's a little bit more interesting stuff going on with the psychology behind why this scam is so effective. I think we could have a conversation about like the 3 style of attachment. You know, how 3 can craft something to attach to. That's one thing that I kind of got away from that. I was just blown away by the assertiveness and the attachment, the combination of those two things.
Right, yeah.
Like, it was just incredible. But also, just like, he laid a groundwork he built a foundation of attachment. It's like, it was just really fascinating watching why something like that would work. Like, you know, on paper, if you actually heard, like, this guy's been scamming people off Tinder, you'd be like, oh, these fucking dumbasses. But when you actually see the kind of experience, what he did, it's like, you know, it's understandable that anyone would fall for this. I guess the part that's not understandable is the amount of money that he was able to get off these women. So,
yeah, I saw the trailer, and it was like he was grabbing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands.
$500,000.
That's hardcore. So is he in jail now?
No, he's still doing his thing. That's the that's a part of it about this whole thing that's like, holy shit, this is like, is this real? I actually went on Instagram and TikTok. He's a real person. He's still, you know, he's trying to cash in on the publicity and the notoriety that this has brought his way. And I'm like, holy shit.
So, you know, like, I watched this like 2 weeks ago or something. So I just had it on and watched maybe the first 30 minutes just to refresh. I mean, I was really kind of like paying attention to, does anybody describe anything about this guy? Not his lifestyle, not his stuff he owns or stuff he supposedly does, but like just about their personal connection. And the best anybody said was something like he was easy to talk to, which means nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this, though, is that I was amazed. I was really impressed by the amount of like groundwork that he laid in terms of, you know, on WhatsApp, on text, like every single day. Just checking in. How are you doing? Like, just showing interest, and that day-to-day, like, each of these girls, for good reason, really believed that he was all about them. And so how many wealthy, successful men come along who can devote that much attention to someone on a daily basis? Just checking in and say, I'm interested in you. I love you, baby. I got to remember what he sounded like, because his accent's fucking hilarious.
He sounded like work hard, play hard. Baby, I love you so much, and we have a good relationship together. I want to see you soon.
Yes,
we have a beautiful baby together, I promise.
And so it was a fairy tale that he was spinning, but he was reinforcing it on a daily basis. So it'd be one thing if you met a fantasy person, you would expect that they would be distant, they would be unavailable, but this person was there every day. And I was like, it's almost impossible. I understand why the average person would fall for something like this. What I don't understand is the lengths that people, once the attachment was formed over months and months, like 6 to 9 months of every single day, this person is there giving you this kind of attention. It would make sense that, you know, you'd feel invested enough to want to lend them money. But I just didn't understand, like, really? $250,000? Really?
Yeah.
Well, you know, so I'm traveling for business right now, and I'm currently in Lisbon. So, you know, if I have to pause this pod, it's just because I'm on the plane. But yeah, you know, I love Alexandra very much, and we've had a really good relationship. And so, you know, I'm just putting that out there for right now.
Does she have some money, possibly? That she could...
David. Shh.
Being swindled.
Alexandra, can you Venmo me like $20?
Venmo me $20,000 immediately. Otherwise,
I'm not that Mr. Exclusive. Nobody would buy it that I'm.
No, he just wants some
thousands of dollars. I just need $20.
$20 for street vendor tacos.
Yeah, I just need a Subway pass.
Hey, I want to jump off.
Hard.
I want to jump off the call. I haven't seen the show. I know I could stay on and razz this guy, but I've got stuff to do.
Okay, but you're gonna come back and end the call, right? Because I can't be the host because that's only
just somebody text me or something.
Okay, cool. All right.
Okay.
Don't fall asleep.
All right.
That's a real possibility. Okay. Okay. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
All right, later.
Later.
Welcome to Big Hormone Enneagram. Excellent start. We are back. We're talking about the Netflix documentary on the TINDER swindler. Before we do that, plugs. Please buy my book. Please buy my book. Please buy David's Trifix guide. It is excellent. Please subscribe to Emeka, David, and Joseph's Dark Arts Academy. Who you got coming up, Emeka?
We just typed the president of Ukraine, and yeah, he's a character. That was really fun to do, and we just recorded one about Dua Lipa, that pop star. Yeah. Okay. So she was an interesting typing. I mean, one of those like vacant pop stars that's interesting to look at, but has nothing of substance to say. But yeah.
Great. That kicks us into the topic of the day.
Speaking of abject emptiness.
Yeah.
So, for those who have not seen it on Netflix, there's a documentary called The TINDER Swindler.
TINDER, John.
TINDER swindler.
TINDER swindler. And yeah, he pretends to be a really rich guy who is getting his money from scamming women, and he goes on Tinder. He matches and either makes friends or like makes them one of his harem of girlfriends, and lays a trap in the story of being like super rich, exclusive dude, and eventually says, "My enemies." He's Israeli. He's like, "My enemies are after me. I need money from you," and so he has this whole elaborate scheme he lays on him. You know, that he's been under attack from enemies for some reason, usually pretending he's like a diamond heir or something.
Yeah. I will say this though, that I heard about this on social media, just been going around, and it just sounded like, oh, you know, a bunch of just dumb girls falling for a scam. But I was really surprised at how effective the thing was when I watched it, in the sense that you might think this is dumb, but if you actually watch what he did, anyone could fall for this. Not to the extent that maybe these girls did, but that this is almost impossible not to fall for it. Mm-hmm. Because here's what I was surprised by is that he's on Tinder, he's got the image of wealth, and he brings girls along on dates that are lavish. And if you're the average person who is hoping to meet a rich guy, to finally meet one, and he's basically spending a whole bunch of money taking you on expensive dates and clubs and private jet trips, and he's always on the go. He's got business deals to do, and he's not only that, but he's incredibly attentive to you. Like this guy is in your DMs every single day. he cares about you. But that's not just like he did that. He met you on Thursday and he's asking you for money next week. No, he doesn't ask anyone for money until it's like 8-9 months later. Like sometimes it's like 6 months of someone who's wooing you and paying this much attention to you. So he built a real connection.
Right.
That's a part of this that's really compelling, is that he's building a real connection. He's building a real attachment. And that's part of what I came away from this whole thing, is like, this is about attachment, and it's crafting a really strong attachment that then you can now later on cash in on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's made an entire job out of social conning for self-preservation needs through the heart space.
Yes.
He's a 3, by the way.
Yes.
Clear DJ self-pres social 3.
Yes.
And work hard, play hard. And what's really interesting about him is that something that we've touched on the podcast before, but is really not generally recognized about 3s, is that they can paint an emotional landscape.
Mm-hmm.
They can really, it's not just selling you on an image. It's like there's an emotional quality to it. There's like it's not necessarily producing a bunch of feelings in you, but there's the crafting of identity goes on to an emotional and like resonance level.
Yes.
And he's really good at seemingly doing that and seemingly crafting the like sense of a relationship. But like, we were saying before, he has almost no personal qualities.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as Emmett is saying, he's like extremely attentive and just like, and everything is very generic, because obviously he's doing this with like multiple women at the same time. And
yes,
how he keeps track of that is pretty amazing. But just like, hello, honey, I love you. It is good to hear from you. We're together for future.
It's like he's crafting those templates, or he's adjusting those templates depending on the girl. So he is doing the same thing with all these girls, but listening to all these voice messages is like, wow, this is a lot of work. Like,
yeah,
this is
personalizing them for sure.
Yeah, like this is his real job, is personalizing the sense that he is the dream boyfriend for each of these girls. But it's not necessarily in like he's getting deep with them and having like real heart-to-heart conversations about difficult topics or things like that. It's a sense of, I'm here, like I care about you, baby. I'm going to be in Lisbon this evening. I'm going to see you when I come back to London. That sort of just always the anticipation of when he's going to come back and they're going to do something exciting. And I think that's maybe the expectation of, this is a really wealthy guy, so I can't expect depth, emotional depth. But the fact that he's attentive and he's always pinging me, and he's like sending, how people send location tags?
Yeah.
And so I think what I got away from it is that there's a way that attachment can be maintained without any real connection. Like that sense of there's an attachment that's being formed here, but to me it doesn't seem like it's based on anything, but it's actually enough in some weird way.
Yeah. And I don't like want to make this just like attachment types scam each other. Like, this can happen.
They don't.
This can happen to any type, I think. Like, we all have attachment structures.
Yes.
And attachment is the fundamental object relational structure. But there is definitely something about the availability. And like I was saying to Alexandra as we were like kind of reviewing this beforehand, not just the documentary, but like other things in life, and like a lot of the stuff I've been learning with the social instinct shit that's been happening to me last couple of years. It's like realizing more and more that most people don't really connect to anybody,
Yeah.
And most people just sort of like have common aims or common fears or common projections or something to keep them together, but not really relating to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it does make this very empty sense of connection. So for me, it was like, I was like, God, these people are like staying connected in some ephemeral way to this guy. But there's no relationship. There's just like, there's attentiveness, there's hitting certain notes, but it like nobody said anything personal about the guy. Even like, the in the documentary, they focus on 3 main women that were scanned by him, and obviously there was much more, but nobody said anything about him personally except he was easy to talk to. That was the only time I heard anything about him, and that was like really striking. There was no like, even in the voice notes and the text, there was not like any jokes. There was not like any inside nudges. There was no banter. It was like just, I'm going to be in Barcelona soon. I join you. Come get your check. This kind of thing.
Alexandra, what is the code for he's easy to talk to? What does that mean? What do you think that they're trying to say about him?
Okay, so that's a perfect segue into what I was going to say. So yeah, there is the argument that like people get attached to very little, and I don't think that's specific to attachment types. I think people in general can just get by on very little because we're not awake to all of our real needs. However, what I think he's doing as a 3 is he's feeling into what you find valuable. He's making it all about you. He's just reflecting what he has like extracted that you find valuable, what you want to hear, what you want to feel, and he's giving you that so that the attention is never actually on him. It's all on yourself, and all you feel is, wow, this guy is amazing. When really he's probably making you feel good about yourself, and you can, this is like a maybe dumb positive outlook thing, but these women maybe can walk away being like, wow, I feel, learn something about myself here. But that's what I think is happening. This like easy to talk to means, I know this is maybe like a sideways, I don't know how this is going to land, but I enjoy talking to myself.
Damn.
So okay, I just had a interview with for his podcast that he hasn't launched yet, Josh Levine, who's a social self-pres Bermuda 3.
Yes,
and
you remember Josh.
Josh is great, and I had a unique experience talking to him that really illuminated something about 3 for me. Because he has a really interesting way of contextualizing you. Like, before we did the call, he was introducing me, and just hearing the stuff that he was saying about what I've done in the Enneagram was like I was looking into a really clear mirror. Like it felt like almost like an idealized mirror, even though it was like he was very fair and unbiased. It felt like, wow, I'm really seeing myself through this person's eyes. And it just made me realize that, at least for the 3, especially maybe like a social 3, it's like a reflection. And, I guess it can be manipulative in a way that a 3 can sense into how you like to see yourself, and they can reflect that back to you. But on a pure level, like 3s can represent this clear heart identity space where they can show you things about that you can really see yourself clearly in a 3, or a 3 can reflect back to you what you want to see. And that's intoxicating and you can become addicted to that because it's self-affirming in a way that no other type can do for anyone else. And so, yeah, I guess that's something that can be really addictive and really seductive about the 3 personality, is how it can be a mirror to your identity and make you see yourself unlike, any other type can.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing to emphasize, because if you look up pictures of this guy, he's like fine, he's just like an okay looking guy. There's maybe self-pres appeal in the fact that he's like, there's like a sexual blind kind of cleanness to him, and then there's clearly a look of wealth. But if you look at him, he's not this magnetizing, super hot guy. Like nobody was captivated by his like sex appeal. So his like main, how do I say this? His like main weapon was to use the heart space against these people.
Yeah.
If you're feeling good about yourself and then you get attached to the source that is making you feel good about yourself, like why wouldn't you go to the ends of the world for this person?
Yeah, I think people can feel dismissive of these women. It's like, how can you be so stupid? Because I felt that way initially, and I didn't really empathize with what they had gone through until I'd just watched the whole thing. Like, yes, if somebody was in your DMs every single day and giving you that kind of attention, first of all, who's doing that? What guy who doesn't need to do that is doing that? Like a guy.
I'm in Portugal right now. I just need $40. We just Venmo me $40. You're such a good friend.
You need to talk to me nonstop every day for 9 months before I can do But no, you start to empathize because you realize, oh man, like just the emotional connection that's even though it's not based on anything, that level of an attentiveness. Even me as a social blind, I can see that there's a way that when a 3 can bring that kind of attention to you, it's almost like you're looking at a painting of yourself, and you're having really good feelings about. Like, I left the call with Josh feeling really good. Like, it not like he was manipulating me in it, but the 3 world, the social 3 world, like illuminated certain things about my character and identity that I was like, man, I should talk to someone like that on a regular basis. Like,
and then you can give them $20,000.
Because it's like that was actually really helpful. Like, as a social blind, not being able to see myself, talking to social types can really be cool because they can see you. But also a social 3, it's like a really precise reflection. And so I could see how if someone were to take that kind of energy and try to manipulate women over a period of time, like, that shit would work on anybody. Maybe you wouldn't send him, as much money as those women did, but if someone were to build an emotional connection, it's also he was targeting women who were susceptible to wealthy men. Like, on Tinder, a lot of people advertise what type of person they're looking for. So
yeah, that's true.
if you're a woman who's got like a Gucci bag and you're taking a lot of photos of yourself in upscale places, you're advertising that you would like to meet a guy who is also about that kind of shit. So he was going after women who, the women who fell for this were, I mean, what's a better way to say this? But they were female counterparts. Maybe they weren't that wealthy, but they're the type of women who would be excited about a private jet plane and shit like that.
That's a really good point because, again, like I'm fresh off seeing it again or seeing part of it, is one of the women says something like, yeah, this is what you show in your profile. And she was like, a picture of yourself and then a picture of you traveling and then a picture with your friends. And it was like, at least examples I used, if it was actually her actual photos, but they were all indicating her own socioeconomic class, at least if not class, than her aspirations.
Yes.
And yes, do you want to say something, baby?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that yes, I do agree. Like, some of the women in the documentary were definitely women that would be like captivated by jet planes and traveling country to country and like expensive champagne bottles. I think another angle, specifically that first woman who felt like a 6 or something. I don't know, 6, 7, 7.
Yeah, she felt like a 6.
Okay, yeah. I think what got her, because she didn't seem like very status oriented, I think what got her was the flattery that a man that could be this busy and this wealthy and this important and could have access to whatever he wanted would give her attention.
Kind of like a little old me thing.
Well, I think it's like, oh, this big important person that could have anything and anyone he wanted is placing all of his value in me. So it's another weaponizing of your own value.
Yeah, really good point. Yeah, another thing I was really struck by in watching it was like, and this is part of the 3 crafting emotional landscape shit, but it's also just, I don't know, it also speaks to how individual people make discernments because, first of all, one of the things that struck me immediately was how joyless everything that he was enjoying looked. Like, he's having these amazing meals and traveling and clubs and dancing and all this stuff. But it just, that's why I keep saying work hard, play hard, because it just sounds so empty. And so like he didn't seem like he was enjoying himself ever. And designer clothes and all this stuff. And, so like there's the second woman in the documentary who is like, didn't get romantic with him, but just like was his friend. And she like goes to a club and there's like the most like pathetic montage of like dudes and champagne girls at a club. And there's like the chubby bodyguard, like making this slapping the air, like dance. And it was like really pathetic, but it was like, okay, like if you didn't really like trust your own intuition and you could infer from all these context cues, like, okay, a big plane, paying for all this stuff. You might go, oh, this guy's like is who he thinks he is. There's like just this way of setting up a bunch of like puzzle pieces that you make a conclusion out of it.
Mhm.
And I don't know exactly where I'm going with this, but it was really striking me that like you can just like really bullshit people if you just have the right context cues set up.
Yeah.
Make their own inferences and interpretations, and it's like, again, like if you narrowed in on who this person was, there's fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Like even the women that were like, yeah, we were in love, or I really loved him. There didn't seem to be much core of a relationship. There didn't seem to be an actual relationship. There seemed to be attention and flattery and all this other stuff, but there was not relating and intimacy. And so that was really striking, is like this utter like sphere, eggshell of spectacle, and then just absolute emptiness inside.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, the lady who didn't have any romantic connection to him but still got sucked into his orbit. I was trying to figure out what her angle was. And because for her, I guess, how often do you get to meet a rich guy who takes you to lavish places and pays for everything? So
All the time right here.
So I can see how someone would be like, why wouldn't you want a friend like this? Why wouldn't you want a friend who has access to the resources, who doesn't ask you for anything, that anytime you hang out with them, they're paying for expensive shit and take you on trips. And so it almost seems like, yeah, if you're going to hang out with someone like that for months and months and months, and then one day they ask you for a loan, you're almost going to feel like, of course. I mean, you've got like so much money that you're almost thinking to yourself, if I help this rich person out, friend, they're going to repay me in some handsome way because they have ridiculous amount of money, because all you've seen is them spend ridiculous amount of money to show you a good time for free. So seeing that example helped me see that, man, what's really going on here is it's more about the money is the engine for this attachment that's being built. But why did she do it? It's like, on some level, I think she thought that this attachment was going to be beneficial to her. Like, I don't think she necessarily deeply cared about the guy, but it's like this was a friendship that came along that was beneficial to her, and she was attached to a rich person who in her life who could potentially down the line benefit her in some kind of way. But she ended up sending a lot of more money that surprised me, because I'm like, you don't even have a romantic connection to this guy. Like, what's going on here?
Right. That leads me back to like his strategy and the sort of competent element that he was bringing to this, is that he did lay just a ton of groundwork on the onset, at least with the first woman. On the onset, it was hi, I like you. I have to go though. I'll be back for you.
Yes.
So like right away he was establishing this landscape of, I'm a very busy person, but I'm always going to come back. So if I'm gone and out of sight for a while, don't worry, I'll be back.
Yeah.
And so he had that pattern going with the first woman who he was romantically involved with. And he still kind of had that pattern with the second woman who he didn't, I don't remember their names, who he didn't have a relationship with.
Yes. He had the same premise with all of them. And I think that was what's so impressive about the whole thing, is that this is something, I mean, I'm sitting here imagining someone who put out like a sheet of paper and mapped out this whole thing, because that's what it felt like to me, that this was so well put together. I was actually really impressed with how thorough he was with the whole thing. Like, it was just it's like a three being able to like craft a ironclad image, or just like an identity. He created a character that was so compelling, and everything kind of worked in the sense that he's going from one city to one city. So he could have like 12 girlfriends. And the more girlfriends he had, the easier it was to do, because he would just fly. Every city he was flying to, he's going to meet up with one of them. And him being away was playing into the whole character of, I am a business, mogul, son of a billionaire or something like that. And, of course I'm not available, but I'm still going to stay in touch with you, and I'm going to come back soon, and we're going to have an amazing time, because money ain't a thing. We have so much money to burn. So I was like, this is extremely compelling. Like, I don't care who you are. On some level, if you care about people who have a lot of money, that's something you care about, you're gonna fall for this.
Right. And there was a like a mental organization, maybe mental is the wrong word, but there was a level of competency and organization he had to have. Like, for example, while he was asking for money from the first woman, he was using that to lay foundation on the second woman so that when the first woman sort of well ran dry, he could prey on the second woman instead. You know, that was part of his thing, is like, I'm going to be very generous, establish this image of I have money and you will take care of me, or I will take care of you. So then when he, you know, got in trouble with whatever thing he talked, I can't remember how he framed it, but suddenly he's in trouble. I need your help so badly. You're my closest friend. Please do this to me. I, of course, am good for it. You know, of course, that like trust is laid of like, yeah, he's paid for tens of thousands of dollars worth of, you know, bullshit for nothing. Of course, I'm going to help him because of course I'm going to see this back.
The one thing that I found compelling also is that a lot of these women believe that he was going to be the father of their kids. Like, you know, they were going to be married. And so that's how deep it was. So it wasn't that, oh, I'm just loaning money to some guy I met off Tinder. You're loaning money to your future husband, who's also like a mega billionaire or something. And so like it's so deep. At first I was dismissive. Then I watched it and I was like, oh man, it would be really hard not to loan. You'd loan some money. I don't know if you'd loan that much money, but if someone had put that level of groundwork for 6 months or more, that you were the love of their life and, you know, y'all are going to be married and all that stuff. Like, yeah. And he's already poured, I don't know, tens and tens of thousands of dollars into, you know, whining and dining you. Like, of course you would.
That could also be like, I don't know if this is a stretch, this just kind of popped up, but that could also be like an intimate practice or something like that. Like the women could have felt like they were engaging in real, like, I don't know, for a self-preservation type and for three, it feels like the exchange of money and the trust of money feels like a very intimate thing of like,
oh, that's a good
if
point.
they're promising marriage and babies and stuff like that, why not mix finances in two? Let's just lock it in further.
Yeah. And it's interesting that every single one of those women, I'm just, you know, soft typing these people, but they all seem like self-pressed social types. Every single one of them. And so what does courtship look like for the different stackings? You know, for self-pres, you know, where does the gift giving come from? That sort of idea of if you want to marry someone, you have to bring resources. That still goes on in many parts of the world. That's a self-pres way of showing love. And so, you know, guys who, you know, buying girls drinks, buying girls presents, buying girls trips, that's all like self-pres seduction.
Alexandra, I'm in Munich, and can you send me just like $60 on Venmo? Thank you.
Right away.
I'm in trouble.
All the Enneagram people, the bad Enneagram people are after him. The
bad Enneagram people.
The road back to you people, because he said mean things on the internet. They're after him. You need to wire him $1,000 immediately,
all the
or his
X4s.
all the people he's the not a fours are after him, and he needs $500 right now, or they're gonna decapitate him in Munich.
Work hard, play hard. You know, it's been funny because I mean, maybe it's just because we all the zeitgeist is that like everything is corruption and scam, and we just had a game show president. But you know, there's been a lot of like these sort of grifters lately that have been getting like either shows or documentaries of one kind or another.
Yeah.
There's like Elizabeth Holmes, who's like, I can't tell if she's like an autistic 3 or a 5.
Probably. Yeah.
She's autistic seemingly. But
yeah. She's probably a 3, self-pressed 3.
I think she's a 3, but she like was gonna make this. She's gonna be a girl boss that was gonna invent this small machine that would do like hundreds of blood tests that you need like huge laboratories for. And like what was interesting is they're always like, she's so smart, she's so brilliant. Like, and there's a show that like I just watched like the first 20 minutes of that is also emphasizing how brilliant she was. But like one of the things in the documentary about her on HBO or whatever it is it's seemingly somebody who knows anything about blood work would know that what she was demanding in terms of getting all those tests into a little tiny box would be impossible physically. You know, and so that was really interesting. What to me was like the emphasis, like instead of it being this oh, we have a relationship, send me money. It was like, I'm so smart and capable, send me money.
Yeah, yes.
And it was just this, like, everybody was all these older, like, I mean, fuck Henry Kissinger, but like he was like vouching for her. All these like sort of high status, like stogie rich guys were all like, oh, she's brilliant, and they all kind of like seemingly had this like crush on her. But it was just a slightly different angle, but kind of the same deal.
Yeah, I've been on a 3 kick recently, just trying to understand, like, you know, I think we see a lot of 6s and 9s, and so we get a lot of their version of attachment, their flavor of attachment. And I've been trying to understand what is so compelling about 3s in a way that we attach to 3s. And so I watched the Kanye documentary recently.
I started that. I fell asleep.
And I felt that I started to realize, like, you know, what's so compelling about this person. And even I didn't know as much about him before watching it, but I found myself watching it and feeling inspired by his story. And I was like, maybe this is what's happening. You know, how 3s are able to pull people in and get them to attach, because it's almost like, you know, it's almost like 3 is, let's say the way we have like an attachment template, and 3 as an assertive type is crafting in an assertive way, like a new attachment template for people to attach to. So like Kanye comes out, and at the time it was only gangster, you know, rap that existed, and he crafted a new identity that no one had seen, that people could identify with and attach to. It was more than that, though. It was more about his story arc of success. Like the idea of a Kanye coming from, oh, the rap world didn't want him to win, but he's a different person, and people are inspired to follow along. So I was feeling that happening to me as I was watching his documentary, because it's almost like it's embodying a mirror for everyone else to, you should believe in yourself, because the 3 believes in himself so much, and it's like an earnest belief in self. Like it's a vulnerable kind of, I really need y'all to believe in me because I believe in myself so much. And I found that so compelling. I was like, this is why 3s, you know, like the 3s like this Elizabeth Holmes can get so many people to, like, what works? What is working about getting so many people to buy in, to give you that money? Because it's like pulling people into to believe in the identity and the story arc of, this is, you want to be part of it. You want to like help this person make it, because they created that emotional landscape. They've created this identity that people can then attach to. And so I was like, this is what 3 is doing in ways. Like, it's assertive because it's crafting an identity, but it's also aware that I need to craft an identity that, you know, people can attach to, people can believe in, people can be inspired. And there's an emotional aspect to that, where it can inspire like irrational responses from people, in the sense that I just want to do whatever I can to help this person succeed and reach their goals.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to like compare 3 grifters versus like 7 or 8 grifters. I mean, and I'm sure there's of other types too, but you know, and then like cult leaders and all, you know, all these people that do rely on other people's belief in some substantial way. You know, like I sent you guys articles on that Rosalcon.
Is that the guy who's, I forget which one this was now.
It's a woman. I met her at a party here in New York.
Oh, okay.
She gave me a sticker, and I was like, okay. And then I looked her up, and I followed her for a long time because she was so cringy. I think she's some kind of autistic 7 or something. And I'm not trying to shit on autistic people, but like, you know, like at all. It just, I actually think is all that can explain. You know, like Elizabeth Holmes seems clearly autistic, and I like, and this person. I mean, she's cringy, but there's something neurological, it seems like, going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, she was some kind of tech CEO girl boss, but also a cringe rapper called Rosalcon. Like her, and I mean, just look it up. It is so bad. It is so, you know, it's so amazing, and just, it's terrible. And she's got a lisp, and it's just like really, you know, but she and her boyfriend, it's like they stole or like launder, like I think they like stole like $1 billion in Bitcoin or something crazy like this.
Whoa.
It was some weird nerdy tech thing. But it was just another like like God, like everybody's like, there's just so many grifters out there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know. She was kind of interesting because she seems like she could be a 7 because she would be doing these like PowerPoint presentations for like Forbes or like big business companies or whatever conferences, and she'd be doing all her like tech CEO stuff, but then would also and then do these presentations of how to like sneak into places and show her in self and dumb costumes, and then would show a full-on music video of herself as Rosalind. And it's like I can't emphasize how bad it is.
Oh man, yeah. I'd watched there's a Netflix doc on the guy who invented or came up with hot yoga, Bikram.
Oh,
yeah.
I've seen that. Yes.
So that guy's a 7, I believe.
Oh, interesting.
And
Yeah,
just
that's right.
on the idea of like the different assertive types, how they grift, and I mean he basically made up everything about the origins of. He basically stole that shit from a teacher or somebody he'd worked with, came over to the States, and just lies after lies after lies. But I think one of the things that David had mentioned about 7s is like unconditional positive self-regard. And
I love that so much. That's completely true.
And so this guy, Big Bikram, was just so full of himself, and he just had, he was just so high on what he had created.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, as assertive types, is like a tangible product, is a tangible result that pulls people in. But people don't care about the bullshit surrounding the tangible result as long as the tangible result is there. And so with the 7, it's theatrical, it's comedic, and it's almost like childish in a sense that this full-grown adult has these sort of really childish tendencies. It can be charming, and I think that's part of it. But as long as you're delivering some kind of tangible result, it seems like if you're doing if a 3 is doing it, or a 7 is just being a clown, it'll work. Like people will just line up for it as long as there's some tangible thing, product or whatever.
Yeah, this Bikram guy would like be in like tiny Speedo underwear and like stand on people and like be kind of like like comical and eccentric in a way that was like both abusive but also kind of like, oh, that guy, like, oh,
exactly,
so funny.
Mm-hmm,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so people would just assign all kinds of explanations to his weirdness of like, oh, he's just he's too free to care.
Yes.
Like it's just interesting how people make up stories very quickly, and it's like maybe some people are free, but this guy was a rapist and an asshole. There was somebody else that came to mind.
Is it the Holy Hell guy? Emeka, have you seen Holy Hell?
I haven't, but I'm going to.
You should. I don't know if he's a 3 now. Now that I know so much about attachment, I'm like, I don't know. He drank his Kool-Aid too easily. I don't really know, but he had this just insane, definitely a sexual type. So he could be like some fucked up sexual 3. You guys should watch it, and we should talk about it because there's a lot in there.
Yeah, I want to explore this, the different scammer or grifter styles, because in a way, like I feel like 3s can get the deepest because they really get into the heart space where with the 7s and the 8s, once people realize that they're being controlled, it doesn't take long for the thing to fall apart. But the 3 thing, like there's a real heart-to-heart connection that's being made here. You just watching all these different 3s, like there's a way that 3s are compelling because they really start to pull on people's emotional strings, and emotions are really that. I mean, you're not going to let that go easily once you have some solid emotional connection to somebody.
I think you're right, but I think that it's not so much a heart-to-heart connection. It's like because there's no genuine heart there.
Right.
Like,
it's a heart template.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like playing certain emotional notes, but without any actual song there.
Yeah.
I think the other person is sincerely emotionally involved.
Right.
Like in this what is this called again? TINDER Swindler.
Yeah.
This guy, Simon Levive is his name for anybody watching. This guy absolutely did not have an emotional connection to anyone else. However, his like victims, I do think, felt very close to him. There was something else I was going to say in this, like, we've with what happened to John and I back in January, it's been and with what has happened, with to David with certain sixes. There is this sort of show, HBO hit show we should start called Attachment Gone Bad. And explore how to do that, because I think the reason that threes can be so successful, and this is kind of a callback to what I was saying earlier, is that they are assertive, but about your emotional location. They're assertive about getting inside of you. They're not pushing their agenda. They're pulling yours out of yourself and then using it against you.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So on that, I am a man who loves his woman. And so I watch the Bachelor show with Alexandra.
America's greatest sport, everyone.
And so, there's all these fucking grifters that are assertive types. And I've watched way too much fucking, I don't know how many, these seasons, they pump it out like
Hot
rabbits
cakes.
or something. But so they've been trying to be have black bachelor and bachelorettes and stuff like this. And so then they pulled back to have the most white bread cereal box white guy football player type bachelor guy. And I haven't seen much, but he's super fucking boring and super fucking blank and just a big tall square chinned meathead guy. And he's got no personality. He's got nothing to show for anything. And then there's this part in the show where if you narrow it down to 3 girls, and then you can you spend the night with them, and you can test ride with sex or something. And what this guy did was he told all 3 women he was falling in love with them, but he did it the same way, on the one after another, where he goes he's been completely vague and completely a nobody the whole time. And then he goes, now's the night where I got to really open up. And then he says, oh, I've been in love with you, and it's not a new thing. It's I've been in love with you. And then, then they're like, oh, he's in love with me. And then they have sex. And then the next day he's leaving, and he turns around. He does this twice. He turns around and he goes, I'm falling in love and it feels so good. And it's this weird fucking thing. And then he tries it a 3rd time on this woman. Exactly the same pattern. And she's like, oh, you were intimate with the 2 other women, and you didn't like me most enough. You weren't in love with me enough to be I know that this is my person. So she was like, that's my boundary, and I don't feel comfortable with that. And that's a deal breaker. And then he has Dark 9, Joker 9 meltdown, where he starts freaking out he's the first person anybody's ever said no to, or no to him, or something like that. And I mean, he just train wrecked, and it was the most cringy, fucked up shit I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, well, just to follow up on that, the internet was really hilarious, because the internet has been roasting him this entire season, being Clayton has no personality. He has no personality. This is the most boring person in the world. Show us personality. And then last week happened, and everyone's joke is no, go back. We don't want your personality.
But it's he's a tall, generically handsome American template blank boy that everybody could just project on. Mm-hmm. And you can see that he gets away with whatever he wants by just being I'm really blank and nice. And one thing Alexander commented on is that he never speaks to the women about him in a direct way. He'll be they in the show, they go to all these different locations and see this stuff. And he's wow, this is a thing we won't forget. He narrates it in this out I'm not even here kind of a way.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it was it was amazing, because he showed no personality whatsoever, completely blank, just in a nice guy 9 version, and of the Tinder swindler guy. Mm-hmm. And had this fucking rage meltdown that was very evocative of a certain event that happened a couple months ago.
Yeah.
But even bringing that up is interesting, because the 9 style of blank and the 3 style of blank actually are very similar. They just look different. For this guy, the Bachelor, he's just not going to really do anything or say anything. He's going to let you be the star, and he's just going to follow along with it. And that's how you're getting what you want from him. Right? That's how you're able to paint whatever. Where a 3 is going to be more assertive. They're going to pull out what you want and then be that thing. So they're not just meekly standing in the background. They're taking center stage, but it's still based on what they are extracting from you.
Yeah. You know that I've been thinking about this because I've been watching reality TV shows because I'm a good boyfriend as well.
What are you watching, Emeka?
You're only man if you're really watching your girl's shows.
John is The Bachelor's #1 fan now.
Yeah.
I've been watching Love is Blind with my Beth.
Okay. Future episode on Love is Blind.
Yeah. So I mean that was interesting because everyone on that show is an attachment type. I mean the latest season, except for one guy who was like the big villain asshole of the show, and I think he was a 7 probably.
Shake, that guy?
Yes, yeah. I think he was a 7. Everyone else is an attachment type, and I just thought it was unbelievable because it was this idea of an attachment template of what qualities and what aspects of myself am I going to show this person in order to create an attachment with them, and then there's an unfolding of the real like. You know, you got to find out what I'm really like later. But, you know, people still continuing the attachment. I guess watching it, I just felt like they don't really want each other. That's what I was like. They don't really like, they're not really into each other, but then they fucking go all the way and marry each other and they come back and they're still into each other. And it doesn't feel real. And so this whole idea of what is an attachment template and certain ways that attachment types might almost erase who they really are, or like this is what I have to do, this is who I need to be in order to get this person to like me. And like the 3-way is more assertive in the sense that they're crafting that attachment template based on what the other person will emotionally attach to. And with 9 it's kind of like this is just a pleasant person who's going to go along with everything. The 6th version is a little bit interesting because it was more like I'm going to show you how much of a mess I am. And because I'm going to show you that I'm real, that I'm such a mess, and that's something to attach to. It was really fascinating.
Now, Emeka has entered the world of reality TV. This has been my social observational study for a long fucking time.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Well, it's like, you know, when she was first like, we were first together, she's like, do you want to watch The Bachelor? And I was like, okay.
I don't know. I don't think I invited
You're not like
you.
me. You're like, no, fuck that shit.
Okay,
Oh, yeah,
I
you
have
tried
a
to be sneaky
confession.
about it.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm gonna watch this over here. You should do your thing over there. And then eventually I was like, look, I watched The Bachelor. It's my thing. You got to be fine with it.
Yeah, like it's been like a year for Beth to finally start owning that there are certain things that she likes, and not be afraid to like choose and say I want to do this, and it's like it's a year of like I get to meet the real Beth a year later. That's really what I've been joking about.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you got a 9, you get like an hour for this cozy thing to be like all sexy and cozy next to you and curled up. So it's like, you know, it's great. But Alexandra, like one of the things I've been, you know, we've been talking about in the group and stuff like this is to get Alexandra to do some kind of social commentary on some of these things, because like what I enjoy about watching the shows with her is that she'll like see these 2 fucking duds on a date or something, and they're just like desperately trying to attach to each other. And she'll like point out like, oh, they're attaching now, or like this person does not feel like this person is an attachable person. But it's like the emptiness you're speaking of, there's like no connection. And I mean, sometimes it actually there is like that you can see it and this will happen, and then they get scared of the real connection or the real chemistry, and they go into an attachment thing instead, and then they have a flip out where they're like, I should have gone with the real thing, you know? And it's like how much fear, and this is not just attachment types, but like how much fear is behind our connections, and how much of our fear is around real spark and stuff has been really fascinating. And Alexandra has all these like just observations about attachment, and like, you know, we've been doing this attachment versus sex thing for a while. And it's still really hard for me to understand attachment because I think because I just don't have any attachment in my type structure. But it's like, it's only now I'm starting to really get a hang of like what it means as like a psychological function. Like I can recognize it before. And so anyway, those kind of real life example commentary, play by play, whatever's are actually like been really helpful.
Yeah, Alexandra, you need to do that because I think the reality TV is vapid television, but it's not vapid if you're watching it as sort of like, you know, because it's only attachment types that are on these shows.
Yeah.
So like you can really learn a lot about attachment based on, you know, because it's a ridiculous scenario. Like, oh, you can't see each other and you're supposed to pick someone who you're gonna marry at the end of 30 days. That's a ridiculous scenario. And then you see all these attachment types like actually like genuinely play along with it. And to see that happen, it's like, man, I'm starting to see attachment better. So if you could do something where you could actually comment on how it's happening, that would be really dope.
You mean I have to watch TV and talk about it?
We just have to get the technology side set up. Like, I think once we get the, it's like a stream or something where your face is superimposed on the episode, like at the corner, and you can pause it and you can talk about certain stuff. Like, if we can set that up, that would be really, really, really interesting. Like an episode companion type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to, because I feel like now that I've forced John into my world, I've hexadded my way into John's, whatever.
Into my way.
I shut up. It's just there's so much content. There's just like so much to look at and talk about. Like in Love is Blind, for anyone that's watching it, Emeka, now you know what I'm talking about. There was that like 6 and something else couple. Who was that? Just like batshit 6.
The Burnett.
Yes.
The Burnett. Yeah.
She was just, you totally tell she was 6 because everything's perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden she has to like make it into a whole fucking scene.
Right.
And then I don't know what Nick's type was. I kind of think 9.
Yeah, I was thinking he was probably 9.
Relationship.
Yeah.
6 and 9 relationship. They don't like each other. They obviously don't. They clearly fucking don't. But I think like an easy sort of like if you like to pick a quick definition of the attachment type sort of like strategy, it is to remember that attachment types think the correct like answer, the correct way of being is outside of them. And they're trying to figure that out without exposing that they don't know what they're doing. So Danielle and Nick are both like, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. Fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. But he knows, so I need to just play along. But she knows, so I need to just play along.
Yeah. I was surprised that they stayed together, but it seemed like whatever their dynamic was just fit in a sort of an attachment way. Like her freakouts was getting him to, double down on the 9 stuff. And it just felt like, I was surprised that they stayed together because he was sweating bullets at the altar. I was like, you don't want to do this.
I know. I was surprised she did at the end too, with all that bullshit she was drumming up. Like, you just absolutely paved the way to be left.
Yes.
I don't know, whatever.
That was one thing I got from, just how does the attachment to disconnect work for 6? And because it's like, you're afraid of rejection, you're afraid of being abandoned, so you want to get ahead of it by creating like a fucking disaster problem, even though there isn't one, just to see if that person will stick around. And then once you do that, it's like, all right, I'm gonna try to pull them back in again. And she did that multiple times in the episode. So just watching that happen was like, all right, like I think I'm starting to get each attachment to disconnect, how the 3 is doing it, how the 6 is doing it, how the 9 is doing it. It's like very different, but
how is the 9 doing it?
The 9 is just, I mean, you already know, I'm sure, firsthand.
Does he, though? We're an elusive species.
But anyway, I think, I think we hit the topic pretty well. That's about an hour. Is there anything else before we wrap this up?
I'm just I'm in Nice,
Prague,
and if anybody could just send me like $80 on Venmo, I'll love you forever.
I mean, if people are willing to send the Tinder Simon Live or whatever his name is $10,000, like, y'all that are listening to this podcast should be sending us $10,000 because we are
ashamed of yourselves.
We are in your bedrooms. We are in your most intimate space. Every single week, you should send us $100 at our BHE podcast at gmail.com PayPal. Just do it.
You guys need to create a landscape of connection with your listeners.
I thought that's what we're doing.
You guys just yell at them all the time.
Okay, I guess we're in trouble. All of us, the podcast, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
We need $1,000 to be saved because all the Not a 4 people are coming after us, and they've held us hostage in a remote location in Prague. And if you don't send $1,000 to our BHE podcast at gmail.com PayPal, we're not going to exist anymore as a podcast. So
They're gonna sell our 4 blood, our rare 4 blood, to give them all 4 fixes.
Oh gosh.
Before we go, I wanted to read a review that I found for our podcast and encourage anybody to write reviews as well. But I just want to read this. The headline is, it's by Ink Story Rebel. The headline is, "What a Sexy Team." This is by far my favorite podcast to listen to. I work in a greenhouse with plants. We put this on and vibe to it all day. I laugh, the plants cry. The plants laugh. I cry, the plants cry. We all swoon over David's mouth noises. I even named some of the plants after you guys, so it feels like you're all right in the greenhouse with me. Thanks, guys. You're really doing the Lord's work. All hail our Lord and Savior Satan. Thank you, Ink Story Rebel. I would love to get pictures of any of the plants you've named after us.
That's one of my favorite reviews of the show.
Yeah, that's truly the best. It was a 9 for sure.
Emeka, have you seen Batman?
Dude, I need to see it. Beth won't
it.
go with me, but I'm gonna go myself. Go see it.
Go? It's good.
She's not into superheroes, but
It's so good.
yeah, I've seen
Bigger than superhero. All right.
I've seen some screenshots. I was like, just visually, it looks beautiful.
Vengeance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. The story's really good. They personalize Batman a lot more because I always thought he was kind of lame before this. It was like some just like flat, nothing, rich boy. Anyway, I think he's not a whiny tears. I think he's a triple withdrawn 9.
Yeah.
Social self-pres, just like a sad, defeated, and doesn't want to be Batman. You know, like doesn't want to rise to the occasion of the Wayne family. Really good.
Every Batman like represents something in the zeitgeist. So like, I mean, watching Dark Knight again, it's like the post 9/11 Batman.
Yeah.
Where, you know, he like to get Joker, he has to like hack everybody's phones to like locate him and stuff. It's like total, you know, and his bat costume looks like he was made in the Sharper Image, you know, like catalog. And like, yeah, he's just so exquisitely rich that it's, you know, like, I mean, it's a good fucking movie, but like Christian Bale's Batman is like such a rich 3.
Right.
You know? Like it's super sleek and like that kind of thing. And then like, I mean, fucking Ben Affleck is just a horrible bro.
Yeah.
Like he's the Trump era Batman, you know?
Right.
Kills people and brands people.
What did you say about Ben Affleck? That he's Ben Affleck playing Batman?
Yeah, like Ben Affleck's Batman is Ben Affleck playing Batman. It's not Batman. It's just like, look, I'm Ben Affleck and I'm in a bad costume.
One thing I found interesting was the director for this thing, because the concept behind what he was trying to do with this Batman, one of the reference points he gave Pattinson is Kurt Cobain. I was like, that's interesting.
Right.
It's a different type of Batman altogether.
No, this is the sad boy Batman that I've always dreamed of. He's the new zeitgeist is the rise of the sad boy in a whole new way. And I loved it. Well,
it seems like a more realistic Batman just what Batman would be if your parents got brutally murdered and you're sitting on this, you know, what that would do to you psychologically. That's really interesting to see that they really made it more realistic. Like if one of us were a Batman today, you know, what
totally.
that would be like.
A Batman that can barely speak at like, you know, normal volume, just like, yeah, it's the Riddler's game now.
I gotta see that.
Yeah, you should. When you watch it, watch out for the attachment themes because they're also really thick in there.
Oh, okay.
That would be a pod. That would be a bat pod. We need to have a bat pod.
We should do that. Yeah, let me go watch it because it's. I mean, I'm impressed that they did something that's their own. You know, like each Batman.
Oh yeah.
You know, just having its own sort of character and having in a good way, like, and it's not just like a superhero movie like they pump out. Like it's actually an artistic vision that's distinct.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, Alexandra makes me watch The Bachelor, and I make her watch Batman twice.
You know what? That's a good point. I'm gonna make Beth go with me because I've been watching her shit.
Yeah, you've had enough Love Is Blind or whatever.
So yeah, I'm gonna make her go watch Batman with me. Let me text David and let him know that we're done. David.
Hey, here I am.
Okay.
All
right, cool.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.